configuring a DHCP server in Cisco Packet Tracer. In this video, we will walk you through the steps to set up the DHCP server to automatically assign the IP address to the client devices, as you can see on the left hand side. And then let's get started. Before we begin, let's understand our network setup that we have. We have a router that will act as our DHCP server, and then we have a switch to connect this device. Okay, then we have the PC that will receive the IP address dynamically. Okay, to configure the DHCP server first, we will need to access the router CLI, which is the command line interface. So we will click on this router, and then we will navigate to the CLI, and then we just need to navigate to router configuration mode. In this case, we will have to enable the router, and then once we are on the privileged config mode, we further say config terminal. Okay, sorry about that, my spelling is wrong. Config terminal. Now that we have landed to the global configuration mode, we can change the host name and say this is router 1 R1. Okay, let me just move this a bit again. So as you can see, we have this network here. This is the network ID of class C IP address. So what we're willing to do is, in order for this device to obtain an IP address, we need to assign the IP address on this interface on the router side, which is gigabit 0/0/0, and then on this side we will just leave it as it is. Okay, let's do it right now. By default, that interface is on a shutdown state, so we will need to wake it up. So all we have to do is we have to type the command interface, and then we specify the name of that interface, which is interface gigabit 0. We can just say no shut if we want to make it sure that the interface is up. As you can see, the status went from red to green, and then furthermore we need to go back to it. As you can see also, we have a line protocol interface gigabit 0, gigabit ethernet 0/0. Change the status to up. Alright, now let's further do what we wanted to do. We need to assign the IP address on this interface. We will have to type the command IP address. In this case, I'll just cut it short, IP add, and then I will specify the IP address that I'm going to give, in which I will use the network ID, which is belong to class C. In this case, I will just say 192.168.1. I will give it .1 as well, and then I will type in the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, and then I will just say, we already specified a no shutdown. Maybe I'll add in some description, and then I'll just call this link _to local area network. Alright, press enter, and then let me just say do show IP interface brief. Okay, this is gonna be telling me the interfaces and the IP address assigned on those interfaces, and the status if they are up or down. In this case, as we can see, this is up. Right, now let's minimize this. Let's come to this switch over here. Well, let's do the same thing. Let's make sure that the interfaces are up. Let's go to the privileged config mode, and then go to global config mode by typing the command config t, which stands for config terminal, and then we need to specify the interfaces, or maybe let me just give it the host name. This is just switch 1, and then let's do show IP interface brief. As you can see, there is no IP address assigned to this device. Remember, this is a layer 2 device, so we don't expect to see any IP address in here. And then the status of these interfaces is by default up, so I don't need to enable the interface with the command no shutdown. I can leave it as it is, and then let me just go back to the router and actually configure the DHCP settings. Alright, So what do I need to do in here? Unlike a server, so let's do this. Unlike a perimeter server, in which we're gonna be using to demonstrate after this configuration on the router, so we'll also use, let me just come here and then I'll just place it here. We'll also demonstrate using the server itself and see the difference between the two. Okay, so let's come back to this one. Let me just type in exit to go back to the global config mode, and then let's type the command IP DHCP pool, and then I'll give it a name. I just wanna assign it to a LAN, and then all I have to specify is the network ID. Specify the network ID. Let's do this, and then 192.168.1.0. This is our network ID that we're gonna be using. Unfortunately, we forgot something, which is the subnet mask 255.255.255.0, and also we need to specify the default gateway. In this case, we're gonna be running a command default router, and then we will specify the gateway that we assigned on this interface, because this is what these devices will be using to break out to the other network as well. Okay, so let's do this 168.1.1. We don't need to specify, sorry, I forgot something, which is L. We don't need to specify the subnet mask because the network already know what subnet mask is used. Okay, we can also further specify the DNS server in here. If we want to, let's just use 8.8.8, or we can point to the default gateway or whatever, but let's just use 8.8.8. okay, exit, do show IP interface brief. We're still gonna be seeing the same interface with this IP address, so because there is only one interface that is here currently. Now let's go and verify on our device. If you come to the PC and go to, okay, let's go to the CMD first to see that currently the PC doesn't have any IP address configured on it. So let's type in the command, just a second, command prompt. Let's type in the command ipconfig. As you can see, currently there is nothing. This is a link local IP address, so there is actually nothing that we can use to ping the default gateway of 192.168.1.1. Alright, until I enable the option to allow the request of the DHCP IP address from the DHCP server. Alright, so how do we do that now? I need to go back to this one, and then also I need to cancel this one, and then come to IP configuration. This is the NIC card or network interface card settings. If I can type in some IP address here that is on the same range as our network ID, I'll be able to ping the default gateway. However, I don't want to use that statically, so I will be using a DHCP to request an IP address from the DHCP server. As you can see, this is the list that I got. This is the list that I got, which is 192.168.1.2, which is the second IP address or the second usable IP address from the network ID. Alright, so I can be able to ping now from that PC to the default gateway. So if I type in 192.168.1.1, I'll be able to get some responses. This is the time to live of 255.255.255. For the trace route, I will be able to just 168.1.1. This is one hop away, as you can see. Yep, so we're done. Yeah, this is how we usually configure the DHCP server using only just the router. Alright, Now, what if I wanted to actually not use the router and use the server itself? Because this is a server, I'll show you and I'll demonstrate and how easily it can be configured on the bare metal server or any server, okay, in particular. So we can also decide which IP addresses that we willing to exclude. Okay, let's say we have IP addresses on a range of 192.168.1, maybe from .10 up to .200. Those IP addresses, maybe, or maybe let's just say maybe from 192.168.200 up to 254. All of those IP addresses, maybe we just want to reserve them for some other devices. So, which means the PCs must, or the computers, they must automatically obtain the IP addresses from the range below than what we're going to be specifying on the IP exclusion. Okay, let's come here and go to IP DHCP excluded IP addresses. Now I can just say 192.168.200. okay, let me just use lower IP address. Maybe let's say from .2 from .1 .2 to maybe 192.168 let's say maybe .1 up to, let's say maybe up to 100. okay, let's say we have let's say maybe we have 99 devices that we willing to be giving the static IP addresses. Static means it doesn't change, so those devices will just have the fixed IP addresses. They won't change anytime until we change them. Okay, so we are expecting that if we go back to try to obtain the IP address, we won't see any IP address which is less than what we see right now. So we will expect it to receive the IP address from the DHCP server from 101 up to upward. Okay, let's do that now. Do right. Okay, so to pop that, let me just do this and then do right. Okay, now if I come here and then go to static to remove the configuration that I just typed before, and then request again. Okay, as you can see, the IP address that is received now, it actually starts from 101. So it's no longer starting from the range where there is exclusion that is being created. Okay, that is how we normally configure the DHCP to give the IP addresses to multiple devices. Okay, let's say now we want to add maybe a couple of devices furthermore on the network. What are they gonna get? Okay, let's do that now. So I'm just gonna join them to this switch. This is a layer 2 switch. Okay, so now that we have these devices, I'm just gonna separate them so that you'll be able to distinguish between the one that we just recently joined and the other one that we were using all along, which is this one. Okay, so as I join the PCs on the domain, on this broadcasting domain, what's gonna happen is as I enable them to DHCP, they get the IP addresses automatically, and then I'll also do the same thing in here. They will start get those IP addresses from the DHCP server, and then let me just do this again. They will be getting the IP addresses from the DHCP server, right? So the list goes on and on whenever you add some devices on the network, right? Until we use up the last one, which is 254, right? Because 255 is going to be our broadcasting IP address of this network. Now what we're gonna be doing, because that you have seen, obviously this PC can ping that one, it can ping that one, and then it can ping each and every other devices on the network. All right, now I just want to delete this. I'll just remove it so that it won't, or maybe let me just shut it down. All right, I'll just shut down the interface so that you will be able to see the configuration from the other server now. Right, now let's select the interface that we want to shut down, 0/0/0, and then let's say no, sorry, we just have to type in shutdown. Right, as you can see, the interface has shut down. Okay, so if I come here, you'll be able to see that now the devices will get an APIPA whenever they try to do the DORA. So let's see what's gonna happen. See, they're getting the APIPA DHCP fade because there is no server that is located somewhere to dish out the IP address or to lease out the IP address to the clients. Okay, these are the client PCs. They're trying to obtain the dynamic IP from the DHCP server. All right, now let's leave it off like that. Now let's connect this one. Okay, this is a server. Let's call it DHCP server. All right, DHCP _ server. Right, so how do we configure this DHCP server? Well, the role that is gonna play, it's still the same as the one that was played by the router configuration that we did on R1. So this one is gonna do the same thing, even though the configuration is quite different from the other one. So let's just go inside. First thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that the interface of this DHCP is not on dynamic, unless there is another server that's giving the IP address to this server, which is rarely used in that way. So we need to make sure that the DHCP server is on a static mode. So we need to give it an IP address on this network range. Let's do it now. All we have to do is we need to navigate to ipconfig, and then let's give it the same IP address that we gave the default gateway of this router. So we're gonna give it 192.168.1.1. Okay, and then our default gateway is gonna be 192.168.1.1. Our DNS, let's make it 8.8.8.8. Okay, so this server it's the default gateway of its own, or maybe let's just change it. Let's maybe change it. Let's say maybe to break out it uses maybe let's say .3, or maybe let's say it uses .1 to break out, but the server, okay, sorry about that. So let's say it uses .3, but to break out it uses .1, 192.168.1.1, because this is the default gateway. All right, in that case I can still enable that router as our default gateway, so the communication will, the devices will get the IP address from here. However, whenever they want to leave the local area network, what they will do is they will tap this router here, and then the NAT will take roll on this router, and then they will break out to the internet. All right, let's come back to the server. So all we need to do is we need to go to the services, and then from the services we have different types of the services that the server can serve. So in this case we have HTTP, we have DHCP, we have IPv6 DHCP server option, and then we have TFTP, and then we have DNS log authentication, and then we have NTP and then we have emails, FTP, IoT, and the radius. Okay, so we want to use the DHCP because we want to use the IPv4 DHCP because we are using the IPv4 IP addressing. Okay, if we're using the IPv6 IP address to demonstrate this, which we're gonna be doing soon, then we will use this option. All right, now let's do this. Let's go in here. All we have to do is to make sure that the service is on. Okay, and then from here we need to specify the default gateway that we can use, which is 192.168.1.1. and then from the DNS we said we want to use 8.8.8, and then this is the pool that we want the devices, which is this one, they will start receiving the IP addresses according to the pool that we create from here. In that case, we said we want to make it receive the IP addresses from 100. Okay, right, so this is where it will start. All right, now I can just save this, and then we have this. All right, we have the default gateway, and then we have the DNS, and then we have the exclusion. This is a DHCP exclusion. All right, now let's see what's going to happen if we come to these devices. We want these devices to not get the APIPA. Okay, so they get 0.0.0 because the interface is down on the other end. The interface is down on this router here. So this one have obtained the IP address automatically. Let's do this again. Okay, as you can see, so we have this device. This PC have received all of the information. If you know that this device is down because the server have told the client devices that this is going to be your default gateway, it will receive all of the information that it get from the DHCP server. All right, so let's go to this one as well to validate. As you can see, if we do this again, we will see that these devices, they're receiving the information that they get from the DHCP server. All right, let's move on to this PC2. We're gonna enable the static and then go back to the DHCP. They all receiving the IP addresses from the DHCP server. All right, let me try to shut it down so that we will see the difference. Okay, I'm gonna shut it down, and then let's see if these PCs will continue to receive the DHCP server. They will get the APIPA, obviously, because now whenever they try to reach out to the DHCP server, they don't find it because it's down. All right, they're getting the APIPA. So let's go back to the server and switch it back on. Let's maximize this, switch it on. Let's give it some time. Okay, let's try one more time and see. So okay, let's try one more time. This interface was still not ready. Now it's ready. As you can see, we are receiving the IP address from the DHCP server. Now let's go to the last one and do the same thing. As you can see, we are receiving the IP address as well. Now let's go back to this router here, exit, and let's say no shutdown to bring the interface up. While the interface is up, let's say do show IP interface, or let's say do show running config. What we're trying to do now, we're trying to remove all of this configuration, because we have already we already configured the DHCP server on the server itself, all right, not on the router. Okay, now let's do that by typing the command no. Okay, let's say exit no IP DHCP pool LAN. Okay, now no network 192.168.1.0.255.255.255.0. Okay, this is not working because we already applied this command. So if we run the command do show run, it will tell us there is no DHCP here enabled. Okay, maybe we can remove this also. Copy no, paste, do show run. Here we go, it's gone. Okay, now we can be able to ping ping 192.168.3. Okay, let's go back to double check our DHCP. Okay, I'm pinging from the wrong place, that's why. Let's come here. I wanted to come here. Okay, so I want to do the ipconfig command, ipconfig, and then this is our DHCP, our default gateway, and then this is our IP address that is given to us on that particular PC. And then to see further more information of the DHCP server who's giving us IP, we need to specify the command IP all. Well, let's go down. It says nothing. Right, it doesn't tell us nothing. Let's find out what is the issue on that. Let's come back here. Okay, this is 3. Yep, let's go back to services, see the configuration. Yep, they are still the same. All right, now let's see if we can ping again. Ping 192.168.1.3. okay, we can successfully ping the DHCP server. Now let's ping the gateway 192.168, sorry, .1.3, sorry, .1.1. Okay, here we go. We have successfully created the DHCP server configuration on this broadcasting domain. All right.